How to secure financing for the acquisition of a boring business. All right, let's get started. So the history of the Small Business Administration stems back to 1953, July 30th, 1953, when the Republican President Dwight Eisenhower signed the Small Business Act. Its mission was to continue to help counsel and protect the interests of small business owners and their concerns. Banks, credit unions, and other lenders that work with SBA make the loans. The SBA doesn't make the loans. They guarantee a portion of the loans. A lot of the banks, credit unions do sell off the day they fund the deal and close the deal, that they'll sell off the guaranteed portion of it. The little secret is that we look most of the times to get best rates. We're looking at balance sheet lenders that don't sell off in the secondary market. Just a little hint on that one. SBA financing for your business. So we gave you a little bit of background about the SBA when it was established, and we're going to dive into the different options that are out there for SBA deals. So the loan programs really are the 7A, which is the most utilized SBA product, the 504, which is really utilized mostly for commercial real estate and construction type of deals for real estate. And then there's the SBA Express, which is smaller loans under $500,000. And then the real small loans are microloans, which I don't really deal with a lot of microloans. There's a lot of small business development corporations that make those type of loans. We do a lot of express and small 7A loans. Eligibility criteria for each program. Really, overall, it's got to be an eligible business. It can't be an investment, so you can't finance multifamily properties. That's an investment. However, in 2010, they enabled self-storage facilities. They consider that a business. So hotels, franchises, laundromats, CPA firms, financial planning practices, restaurants, car washes, self-storage, as I said before, e-commerce businesses, really assisted living facilities. There's really a ton of use cases for SBA financing. So the SBA 7A loan, that is the most versatile SBA product out there. You can fund real estate. You can fund just business acquisition. It could be used for startups. It can be used for working capital. It can be used for import-export business. So it's a very useful tool. And sometimes, even when you're doing commercial real estate deals, you'll do a combination of a 504 SBA loan with the 7A. So there's lots of use cases why or why not you would go for a 7A versus a 504. The 504 loan is actually two loans. It's the bank loan first lien, and then the junior lien, which is the guaranteed piece. So on a 504, it's really for heavy machinery or real estate. You can do larger transactions because you could have a senior loan that's 8-9 million, and the SBA piece could be up to 5 million. And if it's an SBA green 504 loan, it could be 5.5 million. So you can see you can do larger type of deals for hospitality, for self-storage, for building your office building. So a lot of people that own businesses that want to stop paying rent, they'll build a building or buy a building. If you're moving into a building and you occupy at least 51% of an existing building, that is fine. If you're building from ground up, you have to occupy at least 60% day one. Within the first 2 years, I believe, is 80%, and within 10 years, you're supposed to be occupying the full place with your business. So just a little 411. And then you have the small 7A and the express loans, which are kind of the same. But those fund a lot of small franchises, working capital, small business acquisitions. So anything under $500,000, we're going to put in that bucket. Any loan that is under $500,000, the SBA guidelines don't require additional collateral. So for example, if your loan amount was $400,000, they wouldn't look to put a second lien or a lien on any of your real estate collateral. Now, if the loan amount's over $500,000, guidelines say you got to take the collateral to make up for the shortfall. So keep that in mind as we're diving into this.
Hey guys, Bo Eckstein here, and I want to invite you to schedule a discovery call with me. If you're looking for a business opportunity, a franchise, business acquisition, want to learn how the financing works, maybe how the process would work to find the right business for you, I suggest you book a call. You can go to bookwithbo.com and schedule a call with me. and we can take it from there. I help a lot of people figure out what businesses to buy, how to finance the businesses, and I can really provide a lot of information. I love helping people become entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. I love helping them grow and scale their businesses through financing, through acquisition of additional businesses. So anyways, look forward to connecting with you and see you soon.
So going back to which programs are better, I always say, look, if it's a real estate deal, you can look at both the 7A, depending on the loan proceeds needed. The 7A could be viable because it's an easier underwriting process. There's only one underwriting process if you're dealing direct with a PLP or a direct lender for the SBA program. They underwrite in-house. The 504 loan is two underwriting processes, the bank and then the CDC, which is basically a nonprofit that works alongside the SBA. So those can take a little bit more time and you need two signatures versus doing a 7A. Now, if it's a bigger project, you're going to probably do a 504. With the 7A, though, I should add in that some banks will do pari passu, so they'll do a conventional loan in conjunction with the max proceeds of $5 million for an SBA 7A. So you can get up to about $7.5 million in total proceeds if you do the pari passu option. Not all banks offer that. Now, the small SBA loans, either small 7A or the Express loans, they underwrite in a quicker process. Most of the banks, credit unions, and so forth, they're going to use a credit scoring model called the SBSS, which basically takes in the information. And I believe the SBSS was created by FICO for the SBA. And if you score over the threshold for that particular lender, then it moves typically right into processing. So it's really a quicker, I would say, automated underwrite with most of those small 7A and Express lenders. Now, the lenders can be credit unions, they could be banks, and they could be non-bank SBA lenders. And so I believe there's 14 non-bank licenses for the SBA program, and there's some legislation which I think is going to allow for a handful more, which will open up to a lot of fintech companies. So applying for the SBA program and steps to prepare, documents required, tips for successful SBA loan applications. I just included a funny little picture here, but there's also the structure of the 504 loan. As you can see on the 504 loan, the senior loan is going to be 50% of total project costs. The junior loan is going to be up to 40% of total project costs with an equity injection of 10%. So that's kind of the structure of the first and second between the bank piece and the SBA piece. If on a 504 loan, if it's a startup, you can go up to 90% financing of total cost. Now, if it is a startup, they're going to give you a 5% haircut, so you're going to have 85% leverage. If it's a startup with a special purpose building, so a special purpose building is really a building that or real estate that's really only got one use, like think gas station, think something like that, then you're going to be capped at 80% loan to value. So sometimes that's why I go 7A, because the 7A doesn't necessarily use the same variables for LTV, LTC, loan to cost purposes. So steps to prepare and submit an SBA loan application. First, the way I kind of position this is not all banks, not all credit unions, and non-bank SBA lenders have the same appetite. Even though there's the SBA guidelines, it can vary substantially. So, and maybe I'm biased because I work as an advisor and I'm not loyal. I don't have I don't work with one bank, one credit union, or one non-bank SBA lender. I work really as an advisor. So I understand what banks, what lenders are good for certain loan requests. For example, if there's an airball deal, we call it, where there's no collateral, it's a business acquisition with no collateral. We call that an airball. Some banks don't like that and won't make loans like that. Some banks love doing deals like that. So to set up these deals, my recommendation is to talk to somebody like myself. Doesn't have to be me necessarily, but somebody who works almost in capacity as a broker that has a strong understanding of the SBA banks and lenders out there that can give you the guidance. You could really go to your local bank and they could say, look, we'll do this deal, but we're going to do it it's a startup. We're going to do it at 70% loan to cost. Go to another bank and they'll do 90%. And terms differ. On the 7A, it's based on Wall Street Journal Prime plus margin. And I had made mention of this before. The margin can vary. It can go as high as 2.75 on the normal SBA 7A. So you'd be Wall Street Journal Prime plus margin. Wall Street Journal Prime's at 8.5 plus a 2.75 margin. You have people right now that are at 11.25 on their fully indexed rate, and it adjusts based on the Wall Street Journal Prime. Now, some banks will do a fixed rate 7A. The 504 loan, the senior loan is going to vary, and it's going to be negotiated bank by bank or lender by lender. The second loan, after the loan closes, there's something called a debenture. When the debenture happens, that rate on the second loan is fixed for 25 years if it's a real estate deal. And currently that rate's in the sixes, low sixes. The senior debt can vary. Now there's a 10-year declining prepayment penalty on the second lien for the SBA 504. So sometimes that's another reason why you're going to do the 7A, because if it's going to have a 3-year declining prepayment penalty, 5% the first year, 3% the second year, and 1% the third year. So if you're doing a deal and you don't want to be stuck in there for a while, maybe it's a value add self-storage or something like that, or you have, growth plans, that's sometimes why you'll go with the 7A. Now, if you're going to hold long term, the cost of capital is typically a lot less costly on the 504. They do have more upfront costs. So it's more of a long-term play, I would say. And there's pros and cons for both, depending on loan to cost, depending on the deal. So there's lots of variables. That's why I put out a lot of content, is to kind of educate people that are buying businesses and doing real estate, owner-operated type of businesses to understand the SBA program, so they can kind of gives them the understanding, so when they go into a deal, they know what options are out there. And don't worry, if you don't know what options are out and confused by this whole thing, that's why I have bookwithbo.com. You can schedule a call with me. You can walk through the deal. I can give you my 2 cents, give you kind of the breakdown of, pros and cons of each of the programs, what may make more sense for you. So going back to like the application process now, I would say first, get good counsel. Talk to a good advisor like myself or somebody out there that you're referred to, get an understanding. And then depending on the bank or lender, they're all going to have a little bit different application process. So it's going to vary. There's certain forms that are standard. Form 413, which is a SBA personal financial statement. Form 1919, which is kind of like the application for the SBA process. If you own, you're going to have to provide 3 years of tax returns. Personal tax returns. If you have any affiliated businesses, you'll have to provide 3 years of business tax returns for those affiliates. If you have other businesses, debt schedules and things like that. And then if you're buying a business, we're talking about boring businesses now. The most important thing when buying a business up front is to get 3 years of tax returns from that business in year to date. Most people try to just get P&Ls. The SBA underwriters want tax returns. That's the best way to underwrite off these. So if I can give you any information, you're looking at a boring business, you want to get the tax returns. You really want to get the tax returns up front. See if this deal is going to debt service. See if the cash flow is there. If it's not there, what are one-time expenses? What can we add back into the cash flow? Are they running any personal expenses to the business that won't be there when you're there? Are they paying a manager and you're not going to have a manager? You're going to run the business yourself. All these variables come into play. So benefits of the SBA program. Low interest rates, well, sometimes, but right now, Wall Street Journal Prime is up to 8.5. It was in 2020, it was 4.5. So rates have risen like across the board, just like mortgage interest rates on your residential properties. But they typically, when you're getting business financing, a 10-year term is for a business acquisition with no real estate. You're usually 25-year terms on the 504 program with real estate. Sometimes you can get lenders that will do 30 years on the senior debt for those 504. So longer term financing, even on the business acquisition, they're going to go up to 90% of total project costs, right? So you could never get that higher leverage unless you're highly, highly qualified and had a lot of assets for these business loans with no collateral. You can get 90% loan to cost. And that's just not purchase prices. Purchase price plus working capital plus closing costs. That's your total project cost. You can borrow up to 90% of total project cost with the SBA 7A. The other cool thing is you can have the seller carry back up to 10% on full standby. Full standby means no payments for the first 2 years, and it can accrue interest. So before, full standby meant for the term of the loan. Now they change guidelines. And that's the other thing, people. Guidelines are always changing, always changing. But right now, in theory, you can go out and buy a business and get 10% seller financing on full standby and come in with no equity injection. Now, most banks use what's called prudent lending, and they would never allow for that. But I've seen deals with 2.5% equity injection, 5% equity injection with 5% on full standby. I've seen deals with the main borrower putting none of his own money, and he or she got a partner that owned less than 20%, and they put up the equity. So you guessed, you can structure 100% financing deals. So it is a beautiful, beautiful program, and that's why I really am passionate about this. I have a 25-year lending background, started in residential loans, got into a lot of bridge and hard money loans, and I got into commercial loans. And then over the last 5-6 years, devoted myself to SBA financing because it's creative. I love helping people buy these boring businesses. I think there's never been a better time to find these retiring business owners that don't have succession plans, that need to do something with their business, or they're going to shut it down. So and the other cool thing is that a lot of these deals, it's almost expected that you're going to get a little bit of seller carryback. So you can be very creative on your deal structuring. Very creative. So there's all different collateral requirements. We've talked about if the loan's over $500,000, they're going to look for additional collateral. You can actually refinance if you do have an existing SBA loan. You can, if the proceeds are eligible, you can do refinances. We're doing a lot of those right now. So really, on these boring businesses, there is no better program than SBA financing unless you can get full seller carryback. The SBA program is an amazing tool for you to use. The process really isn't that complicated. Granted, it's, you're doing a bank loan, and banks, they're going to have their diligence they have to do. There's, tax transcripts they have to order. There's age reporting for accounts receivable. There's real estate. There's appraisals. There's phase 1 environmental reports needed. But typically, documents needed: financial statement 413, business financial statement, business debt schedule, interim balance sheet if you own businesses already, a resume for the sponsor, that's a resume or bio, projections. If you're doing any kind of construction, you're going to need a vetted contractor that's solid and's got financials. You can't use, if you're doing a lot of construction, you can't use, the handyman. They need to have this stuff documented up front. If it's a construction deal, you have to have plans, permits in hand before the loan will be funded. But the cool thing is, if you're doing a business, you can also build in working capital, like I said before, employee salary for the first few months, FF&E, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. Really, really awesome tool. Additionally, let's just say you're buying a boring business, which is a plumbing company, and now you've run it for over a year. Typically, most banks want to see 2 years. But if you were to go buy another business, another plumbing business, you could potentially get up to 100% financing on expansion. So that's another really awesome thing. So you can really grow. You can really grow. Now, you can only have $5 million of aggregate SBA financing in the same NAICS code. So you could only own, 2 motels with a collective loan balance of $5 million. You couldn't go out and do any more. But if you were to go buy a plumbing company, that's a different NAICS code, different industry. You can get a different additional $5 million in that NAICS code. And that's just recently changed too. Before, you could only have a total aggregate of $5 million. Now, we haven't even talked about the SBA 504 Green. If you were buying a building for your business, let's say, and you retrofitted that building with solar or something like that would reduce energy consumption, you have a third-party engineers do a little report for you. Now you're eligible for the 504 Green program. You can have up to $5.5 million in proceeds for the Green program. And you can have an aggregate of $16.5 million. So what that means is that now, granted, you can only have $5.5 million max per deal, but you could then have essentially, 35, 36 million in total buying power, because a 504 is a first and a second, because you can have an aggregate amount of 6.5 million. So there's a lot of ways to position. There's a lot of ways to get going. Even if you have low equity right now, low capital, you can bring partners in that own less than 20%. They don't have to guarantee. Now, you do sign a personal guarantee. Anybody that owns over 20% would need to sign a personal guarantee on these loans. So it is a full document loan. Your financials are required. They're going to order transcripts from the IRS. But where else can you go out there, find a business for 900 grand, build 100 grand of 75 grand of working capital in, another 25 grand in miscellaneous. You got a total project cost of $1 million. SBA bank lender partner will lend up to $900,000. You get the seller to carry back on full standby 75 grand. You bring in 25 grand for this $1 million deal. That's got net cash flow of 200, 300, 400 grand, right? So I just wanted to open your mind on how you could be buying these boring businesses today. And we can also fund startup franchises. We can do up to 90% financing on startup franchises. So we do a lot of work in the franchise space as well as business acquisition. I have another company that we have franchise advisors. I call them business ownership coaches. So if you're confused on the business you're looking for, maybe you're getting frustrated trying to find a business acquisition, we can show you a lot of inventory, a lot of great franchises. A lot of them aren't brick and mortar. They're home-based, that are scalable models that you need, a few employees. So there's a business out there for everyone. So don't get discouraged. There's businesses out there for everyone. Now that we just scratched the surface of SBA loans, I wanted to give an overview. I mean, there's a lot to learn. You can go back on my channel. I have, at this point, I don't know how many SBA conversations we've done, but there's at least, I would say, probably close to 50 to 75 videos, maybe even 100, all on SBA financing. Some of them are broken down just for the 504. I do a monthly checkup on the 504 rates as those adjust every month, usually around the 10th to the 15th of the month, and I come out with a video. If you're looking to buy a business and you're looking for some guidance, you can go to bookwithbo.com and you can schedule a discovery call. I can help you find a business. I can help you buy a business. Or if you just need some more information to get some clarity on any of this, don't hesitate to reach out and book a call. Go to bookwithbo.com. Last thing I'll bring up is we are hosting an event on March 2nd. This video will be definitely out by then. It'll be out probably in the next few days, but businessownershipsummit.com. Check it out. It's a free event. It's a Saturday. We're doing an event on business acquisition franchise. We have my friend Jordan coming to talk about how to find and fund laundromats, he's going to talk about how to find and analyze laundromats. I'll talk about how to fund them. We have my SBA bank partners coming in to do a panel discussion on how to finance business acquisition and franchises. We have breakout sessions on home service franchise models, top low-cost franchise models. It's going to be a great day of discovery. We have a CPA coming that specializes in working with small business owners. So even if you have your W-2, if I own a new business coming in, what tax advantages might I have? So it's really about strategy, because there's a lot of high-earning W-2 people that are buying businesses right now, not only for the potential cash flow and the asset creation, the value of owning businesses with equipment that can be depreciated through bonus depreciation or Section 179 tax strategies, which potentially can offset some of your W-2 income. So we're going to talk about all that more at businessownershipsummit.com. As always, thanks for tuning in. Hope you got a lot out of this, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Welcome to the Own a Business Today podcast, your ultimate destination for captivating interviews with franchisors, seasoned business owners, and ambitious entrepreneurs. Prepare to explore the dynamic world of franchising and business acquisitions. In our episodes, we will explore subjects like uncovering profitable franchise opportunities, taking the courageous leap into franchise ownership, and seamlessly transitioning from your traditional 9-to-5 routine into the domain of business ownership. With your host, Bo Eckstein, leading the way, join us as we dive into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To catch previous episodes, dive into in-depth articles, and access a wealth of additional resources, visit us at ownabusinesstoday.com.